It was during this time that the women, students and people from the urban and rural sections of Bengal and various other parts of the country for the first time took active part in the Indian politics.
There were huge protests by people of all classes along the streets of Bengal. Although there were huge protests and petitions, the government partitioned Bengal on the 16th of October in the year 1905.
In the wake of this partition, there were huge revolts by the people which led to the boycotting of English cloth and salt. This day was observed as the day of mourning by the people of Bengal.
The people took to streets and burnt the foreign cloth. Look out for shops selling foreign goods across various parts of Bengal. There was no cooking done while all the shops remained closed. A hartal was declared and people bathed in the river Ganges and took to the streets shouting slogans of Vande Mataram. The people tied Rakhis as a mark of unity of the two halves of Bengal. Ananda Mohan Bose and Surendranath Banerjee called for mass meetings that were attended by around 75,000 people on the same day.
The women refused to neither wear foreign bangles nor use foreign utensils, while the washermen refused to wash foreign clothes. In addition, the priests refused to take offerings that had foreign sugar. Students, this step of immediate unity among the people of various social groups laid the foundations for nationalism in the country. In other words, the nationalists were responsible for this development in the country. In addition to boycott of clothes, salt, sugar, government institutions like schools, courts, colleges, etc. was also called out. There were schools, colleges and courts set up by the local people. What do you think was the aim of such boycotting and protests? The main motto was to not cooperate with the government, as a result of which its position would weaken. On the other hand, the Swadeshi movement was a boon to the Indian industry.
The manufacturing of Swadeshi salt, sugar, matches and other items began on a large scale in the country. The Swadeshi movement provided the trigger to the Bengal Chemical Works of P.C. Ray, while it also motivated the establishment of the Tata Steel Plant in Bihar by Jamshedji Tata of Bombay.
In addition, the Swadeshi movement also opened up avenues for indigenous goods. The textile industry in India also took a giant leap as a result of the Swadeshi movement.
The extremist nationalists Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal and Lala Lajpat Rai, the Bal Pal Lal trio, during the next Congress meeting in 1905 supported to extend the movement to other parts of the country. While expanding, they also wanted to demand for the complete freedom or Swaraj. It was during this time that Bal Gangadhar Tilak gave the famous slogan, "Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it."
This time, the leaders wanted to adopt a different kind of strategy. Instead of the petitions to the government, which was termed as medicency or beginning of arms, the leaders tried to mobilize the masses against the British and drive them out of the country. On the other hand, the old leaders or the moderates wished to proceed in a gradual manner, pointing that the masses were not ready to take part in a full-fledged freedom struggle. While one section of the leaders called for mobilization of the masses, the other section had a different view.
The increased differences in the two groups of leaders led to the split of the Congress in the 1907 Surat session. This split led to the forced exit of Tilak and other extremists from the Congress.
The government strongly opposed the extremists and the activities of the Swaraj movement. The leaders like Tilak and others were imprisoned. The movement started to melt down. Moved by these developments, many youngsters who were part of Swaraj movement took to terrorist attacks against a few British officials. Although such attacks were suppressed and the individuals hanged or imprisoned, these people helped in keeping the spirit of nationalism alive. Their sacrifices, as a result, continued to be cherished. Here's an exercise for you. Find out the names of the individuals who sacrificed their lives in connection with the terror attacks.
In the year 1915, the revival of the national movement happened again, with the release of Bal Gangadhar Tilak from imprisonment. Tilak joined Annie Besant and launched the Home Rule movement in the country. In the year 1916, the two groups of Congress that split got merged again through the Lucknow Pact. In the year 1914, the First World War began. Britain, France and Russia fought against Germany and its allies. The World War went on for 5 years until Germany was defeated. The World War I resulted in massive destruction.
Students, although the war came to an end, the wave of revolutions began in Europe. During this time, there was a revolution led by the communists and the peasants, workers and soldiers in Russia. The revolutions resulted in forcing out of the then Emperor of Russia, elimination of landlordism and private ownership of land and factories. In addition, they also urged the need for equality among nations and freedom for all the nations that were under the colonial rule. As a result of this, dissatisfaction grew among the people of India against the British.
The news of Russian Revolution influenced the people to revolt against the unjust rule. In other words, it inspired the people that overthrowing such a rule helped in building a society with equality and justice for all.
During this time, everybody expected that the British would pay heed to the demands for democratic rule and introduce constitutional reforms. But students, the British reacted in a totally opposite way by imposing harder laws. At this juncture, when the people filled with discontent and was struggling for freedom, the Mahatma Gandhi returned to India from South Africa and joined the freedom movement. Students, we will learn about the remaining part of the freedom struggle in the next lesson.